really starting off good. Anyway,
I'm still I change things now.
They just docked his first minute of pay.
Oh boy.
I'm still trying to get it started. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, we're starting off great. Did it come across?
Yep.
We're still not live.
It sure did.
Yeah, it says we're looking at
live
5
on the
watching.
YouTubies.
5 watching.
We
The tubes of you.
Mm-hmm.
we're there.
Why is
Good
mine
job.
lag so much? I got good internet now. There we are. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Dang it.
Because you're missing your whiskers.
Huh?
It's going to space.
You can't tune in.
We'll get it together, folks. So just give us a minute. It's the time change. We're blaming it on the time change.
Yeah, blame it on the time change. That's it.
That's what the problem.
Springing ahead.
That's
What's up, Mike? What's up, JR?
What's going on?
Hey, how are ya?
Baby face.
Oh,
Shave
baby
your face
face
and look
over there.
older.
Yeah.
We'll have a little more to come on what happened there.
Oh.
See my beautiful jaws now.
Yeah.
What happened?
You look about 10 years younger.
Matt says I look old. Wackerle says I look older.
I do. I think so.
He's just meaner than me.
He's just big old teddy bear. He ain't mean. What are you talking about? Anyhow,
All right, let's kick this off.
Should we get started?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me get this out of my system because I'll screw it all up. Let me just get through this. Okay. Cut it out, Wackerle. Here we go. Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast, episode 137, sponsored by Forge 3D. I'm Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, joined by our host, Matt Wackerle with Wacky Works, Mustachio with the Wooden Mustache, and Mr. Steve I from Steve I Designs. How are y'all doing today?
Good.
Doing well.
All right. Mustachio, you got some people to thank, don't you?
I sure do. Let's see. I would like to say that Creative Makers Podcast is made possible by our patrons. We love you guys. Tonight, we would like to thank the following patrons, starting off with Don Sargood from ESARGOOD on the Instagrams, Aaron over at Pyrex, and Victor from Whim Design. We thank those randomly selected 3 and everyone else that is contributing to the podcast. So if you would like to support us, you can go on over to supportcmp.com, and we thank you in advance. So let's flip it over to Joey. What do you got in the works?
Well, on top of having a little accident, as you can see, all my facial hair is gone.
Did you get attacked by a razor?
Always wear your PPE in the shop. Oh, we had a little bit of a mishap. It could have been a lot worse, but we kind of avoided. My eye protection helped save my eye, I guess. But we had some of that foam that I was finishing the last little leveling I needed to do. The concrete, the slab shifted, it popped, and it kind of threw me off balance. Also kind of scared me because I wasn't expecting it. And the actual gun come out of the hole, and that pressure shot all that foam back into my face. And it was already going through its chemical reaction. So things got a little hot real quick. And it all stuck to my face. It wasn't funny at the time, but we were in a hangout and everybody was like, "What happened?" Steve was like, "Do I need to call 911?" And at the same time, I'm dealing with expanding foam and heat. I threw my hand over the hole to stop it from shooting out, and then that foam started expanding in my head, and I had foam expanding here on my face. Oh, it was a freaking mess. It's a freaking mess. But the hair had to come off, the facial hair. So anyhow, after that little incident, we got all the horse mats put out. I'm really liking it. And in fact, I went and got the rest that I needed this afternoon to finish out the whole deal, so it'll be done. And I'm not lacking those small pieces. I'm wrapping around the backside over here, directly behind this wall. That's where a bunch of my sustainers and hand tools and stuff are. So I'm finishing that out. Got all my tools in place where they're going to be, and I'm going to start on dust collection next. So those will be some videos showing the IVAC system going in to fully automate the shop. And yeah, a lot of trying to figure out on some more organization, more storage, because I don't have a lot. There's not a whole lot of wall space. So we've talked about it before. The shop's big, yeah, but there's nowhere to put anything because there's not enough wall space with all the stuff. So I'm trying to figure that out. Got some solutions, just doing some research on it. But other than that, that's about what I got going on. How about you, Mr. Wackerle? What is in the works?
Well, we got done cutting out some cabinets on the CNC. Taught my wife how to put together one, and then she assembled all the rest all by herself.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. It's real easy. I mean, it's like putting together Legos, really. And then you just screw them together. And she had some little handles that she wanted to put on there for the front of it. And so we got those taken care of, got them mounted, and then they're all inside of her. So basically doing a built-in inside of her closet. So all of the, basically instead of a dresser outside of it, dresser inside, stacked up. She's looking over it now to see if she wants to go a little higher or not. And so we might be putting some more in there, but they're completely customizable where you can just stack them on top of each other. They lock right in place. It's a really good system. Got that done. Started kept on organizing in the shop. And then that's about it. That's really all I got done. I mean, it was a slow, peaceful weekend. I liked it. So, what about you there, Mustachio? What'd you get done this weekend?
Oh boy, I got a lot. Actually made notes before this. So we'll go back to being in Iowa. Last weekend, Scott and I loaded the Onefinity CNC, the planer, lumber. Gave me a pressure pot too. So we got that all loaded on Sunday before we did the podcast last week, and I left at like 7:30 in the morning on Monday. I was gonna leave at 6, and I was about to go to bed, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna get an extra hour of sleep. So got on the road at 7. I stopped by a Casey's gas station, which I know a lot of folks around there rave about. Their breakfast burrito and the breakfast pizza. Oh baby, they very, very well done. I think I drove 7:15 in the morning. I finally gave up at like 2:30. That would be Tuesday early morning. Stopped at a rest stop and somehow opened my tailgate, and it was open the entire night at the rest stop with a few tools in the back that I would like to hang on to and not have them stolen. So it looks like nobody grabbed anything. I mean, if anything was gonna be missing, it would have been the pressure pot because that was the easiest. So all the straps were in there on everything I strapped down and stuff. So I guess it was all good. And when I unloaded, it was all there. So I grabbed some Unistrut because the planer is 350 plus pounds, and that's not a one person job. So I ended up hanging some Unistrut in the shop. I got a hoist at Harbor Freight, and I backed the truck into the shop, which I've never even done before, and I was able to kind of walk the planer to the tailgate and picked it up with the hoist, drove out, and set it down on the stand. Worked perfect. I also just did a big reorganization on the French cleat wall because I have some little boxes and stuff that I put a cleat on the back of, and just collecting junk. Like, I took one of them off the wall. I was like, I haven't even gone into this for years. Like, why is this even like here? So I'm in the process of kind of moving everything around with respect to that. I have to at the very top of my wall on the house side, I have just like the 1-inch pink foam board that I want to rip down and actually put like an access panel and plywood up there. So once I can do that, then I can run the 220 over to that side and run the 4-inch dust collection line over there, because it stops a little bit before that wall, and I just got to wrap around and then come down for the planer and joiner, because that's going to sit over there. I also put Lido's shelf up when Steve and I went over to visit him. Oh boy, 3 months ago.
Back in November.
Yeah. So I thank Mike for that little shelf system that he made, and just gave it to me. He gave it to me.
They gave it to me.
Let's see. I modeled and printed. I had Wemo smart outlets in the shop, and those are no longer supported. You can't even like open the app. So I switched over to Leviton, and I have some of those smart plugs and stuff. I made a little 3D print to wall mount that little unit, and I got those mounted. Let's see. I start selling some tools. That's the last thing. The planer, I get the little DeWalt 735. That is going to go. In addition to the flip cart that it's on, I don't know if I'll be able to sell the flip cart or include it with the planer. I'll just put it out there and see if anyone bites. I also got to sell the old laser, and you guys will like this. I'm going to sell the scroll saw. With the laser and the CNC now, I can't see myself using that anymore. So
what are you going to use to hold the door open?
Get a rock. It'd be okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can CNC a doorstop. I mean, come on. Or 3D print.
I have a few 3D printed doorstops that say Hodor.
It's about time you've grown up and get rid of the scroll saw.
Hey! I did some cool stuff with that. I feel like.
I bet you the scroll saw people hate me.
Yeah. Look at that! Jamie's in the chat.
Oh, look at this guy here.
He's got 2. Wow. So, that's it for me. What's up with you, Steve? What you got in the works?
Yeah, so clearly not as productive as your week, but I was able to get the tops cut out and edge banded in place for my miter station that I'm slowly finishing up. I also, in putting together a dry fit of my drill press cabinet, I realized that I measured twice and cut wrong. So there's one little spot in the back of the cabinet where the cabinet goes around the post of the drill press that I realized last night when I'm thinking about it is trying to figure out how I miscalculated that cut. I ended up remembering that when I was in SketchUp and I measured off of the cabinet, I actually measured the inside wall of the cabinet where the drawers go to the front edge of the cabinet. And I never added the 18 mil for the actual plywood that's the back. So I actually cut it 18 mil too much. So I got to figure out whether I'm actually just going to recut those top and bottom or whether I'm just going to patch it. And if I patch it, I don't think it's going to be a big issue because I'm planning on putting a solid surface material on the top anyways. So no one's ever going to really see it. I'm going to be the only one that knows I did that. And now everyone out there on the internet.
If anybody comes over and notices it, just kick them out of your house.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. 100%.
Hey Steve, what's going on in here? Why do you have my cabinet unassembled?
Hey, did you see my front door? We'll go see it now.
Absolutely. So it is. I'm trying to get this thing done because I'm planning on using this for my Make What You Fear project. That is quickly coming to an end, which I believe I have to be done by the end of the month. And yeah, so it's almost there. I have all the pieces, with the exception of the solid surface material, which I don't think is going to be a problem to go get at the local big box store. It's not a very large piece, but yeah, so that's where I am with that. And I think I can't remember whether I mentioned it last week or not. I think it was last Saturday or Sunday. I finally got the air weights onto the CNC. I have not actually had a chance to try them out, but I just tested them and they work great. So I'm looking forward to working with those. But that's kind of it for me. So let's switch gears to tonight's main conversation. And tonight on the podcast, we're breaking down what it takes to get started in wood turning, from the basic tools and equipment to whether you actually need a class to learn. When you're jumping into the big debate of carbide versus traditional tools, when should you use each? What happens when epoxy joins the party? And how do you actually turn wood, resin, and hybrid blanks without ruining your project? Before we argue about carbide versus traditional tools, let's talk about what it actually takes to get started in turning.
I would say that you first need to be able to get a lathe that is to your size. What is it you're going to do? If you're going to do small stuff, you want a smaller lathe. You don't need such a big lathe to be able to do that. So you can get a smaller lathe. You definitely need probably some safety gear, something like a face shield, something to get, things are going to come at you. Wood shavings, whatever it is that you're turning. You're going to need some tools. And if you go into carbides, we'll talk about that later. But if you go into carbides, you probably don't need sharpening. You need to be able to buy some extra carbides. But if you go into traditional tools, you'll need something to sharpen it with as well. And then obviously you're going to need some wood and wood, resin, and hybrid blanks, however it is that you end up turning. And of course sandpaper, because you're going to have some edges that you're going to have to smooth out. So those are like the bare minimum things that you're going to need just to get started.
So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned different size lathes. So what are the different size lathes and what are they kind of typically used for? What are they good for? Depending on what you're going to do. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So yeah, your smaller, your bench top size lathes are more for your smaller blanks, your handle blanks, doing in small bowls, or if you're doing like a handle or pens, stuff like that. And then you can get into bigger. So when you talk about that first number is going to be, when you think about it, a 60. So the last number is like the size of your bowl blank. And here I go with the camera. Like the size of your
diameter that you can
turn.
There
you go. and then it has your overall length as well. So if you got like a and I'm trying to remember my smaller lathes that I had, which is, it's been a long time ago, but it was like, like a 12 was the diameter that I could turn with it, but it had like a 1/2 or 3/4 horsepower motor on it. So you're spinning. Go ahead.
So is that, what is that called? Is that a MIDI or a mini?
Mini.
What do they call it? Mini. Okay.
Mini. Mm-hmm.
Mini, mini kind of more like for your pin turning.
Yes.
Kind of you're only going to be able to turn like real small bowls. So your turning diameter over the bed significantly drops. And those are more for like pin turning from my understanding, right? Then you
pin
get into
turning or spindles. Yeah. Stuff like that. Something smaller.
Small tool handles.
Yes.
And those are very, very, very affordable, you know, and there's different versions. Yeah. And then you jump up into the MIDI size where you get a little bit more turning diameter over the bed. Yes. And you get longer links as well.
Your horsepower goes up.
Right.
So you go from like a 1/2 to a 3/4 to a 1.5. And then you get into your larger scale, which is like mine, I think is 22 by 47. So 22 is the diameter that I got from the center line to the band to the bed. Yeah, I know. Center line to the bed. I was so glad you guys talked me into buying this camera.
There's a setting, buddy.
There's a setting right there. It's just called change cameras. But
do it live.
So my distance from my center point to my bed is 22 inches. My distance from my machine or my head to my tailstock is 47 inches. So that's my overall. Now everyone thinks, oh, that you can turn all that. Well, now you have a banjo that you have in between there. Banjo is what holds up your tool rest. And then your tailstock, you have a point that you have to put in the back of it to be able to hold up the end. So that's going to take up space. And then you're going to end up putting a chuck in there, and that's going to take up some space. So it's not exactly that size, but those are the dimensions from the center line to the bed and from the machine portion to the tailstock. Is
another thing that you get into once you start getting into the floor standing models, and some MIDI lathes have it, is you start getting into that variable speed, and it makes it a lot easier to slow it down. Like if you're finishing a pin on it, you can really slow that motor down to where it's barely turning, and you can apply finishes. The go-to one for a long time, y'all can correct me, Matt, was the Harbor Freight one. The Harbor Freight was popular, but that is like a manual. It's harder to
control your speeds. Yeah,
right. And
is that belt drive where you gotta move the belt on different pulleys?
On some other machines, you still have to. Like on my big lathe, you still have to. You got the ranges right, but it's variable, and you also have reverse. Some won't have reverse.
Right.
So that helps a lot on certain applications that you need to think about.
Yeah, it's definitely variable speed to me was a game changer on it. It was totally different because the first one I got wasn't variable speed, and it was belt driven, but it was like it's on or it's going or it's not. Period. And those belt speeds told that's what it's doing. And it was a little difficult to get used to, but then when I got the variable speed, it was just like it was night and day.
And you can also fling stuff off of it if you're not careful with one of those lathes that are just, because as soon as you turn it on, it hits and it's like just going, and a lot of times you have the chances of stuff coming loose.
Yeah, instant torque.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, for the basics, I think the question was, Matt, right? Steve, what do you need? Like, what would you recommend, I guess, kind of in a way?
Yeah, I think where we left off was just the different sizes of the lathes of mini, MIDI, and full size.
Yeah.
So
And then like you got to throw the Pat Lap version that he turned that massive log on.
Well, you bring that point, and some bigger lathes like floor standing model, they make lathes specially for just bowl turning, right? But then they also make some that have outboard turning. Like mine's capable of outboard turning, and it has the banjo on the outside as well. It's got a second banjo to where it's infinite. Well, not infinite, but you can put a massive log on it. Now you better have that sucker bolted to the concrete because it'll make it walk or flip
walk
it
away
over.
from you.
It will.
Yeah. Oh,
it
yeah.
will. You even on smaller stuff, if it's not centered correctly, that thing will freaking start walking on you, and it'll flip that thing over if you don't have it secured. So that's on any lathe. You need to keep that in mind, even on a bench top. You know,
when you talk about outboard turning, is that when you're turning the actual motor drive head around so it's actually in front of it?
Yeah.
Some do. Some just have the extended spindle to the back to that side.
Okay, so it goes straight through, and instead of in between the tailstock and the head, it actually goes all the way out, and you can put a chuck on the outside as opposed to spinning the head.
Now you got to remember though, you're turning. Oh, you're still turning the same way, right? It does not reverse. So if when you're turning, you're turning that forward on a lathe is counterclockwise. That's how your stuff's spinning. Reverse is clockwise. Think about it, Matt.
No.
Yes.
I don't
know.
The machine is turning like this, which is counter.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
And then when in reverse, it's
clockwise. That's right. Because you're
bringing the wood
down into your tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So outboard does not change that. It's still turning this because it's the same shaft, right? I mean,
correct. And now you have different types of outboards. So you can just you have ports. You have machines that just turn the head out just a little bit, and then you have an extended banjo that comes out that you can get in front of it with. And then you have some, like Joey was talking about, you can turn your head all the way around, basically 180, and then you have an external tool rest to go off from it, and it's independent of.
So JP brings up a good point there on your Morse taper. They vary on your different sizes.
Yes.
So you need to keep that in mind. Like if you have two lathes, right? If they're a MIDI and a floor standing model, you can get them with the same Morse taper, so everything interchanges, and you're not having to buy different things because there's Morse taper 1, Morse taper 2. And if you don't, some of that stuff gets pricey. Go ahead.
So my wife's is a Morse taper 1, and I have a Morse taper 2 on mine. So it makes it. I didn't know that when I first bought it. It's so that I had to buy an adapter so that we could use the same chuck if we wanted to. So it was a learning experience. And it was actually JP that I was like, those don't even fit. There's different sizes.
Now,
that's actually a good
you could buy adapters, but all that does is it extends everything out, and you take more of a chance of bending your spindle. There's more things that can happen because you're further away from the actual bearing and whatnot. So just like anything, the further you get away, and remember, you're putting leverage on it, right, with that tool. So you got to be careful when you might start getting chatter in there as well. There's a lot of things, I mean, they come into play.
But if we're looking at the basic things that you need, your lathe, you need to kind of what it is that you're going to get. If you're getting bigger lathe, smaller, if you're going to do smaller, they make ones that are just dedicated just to do pins. That's all they do. And then you're going to want what kind of tools are you going to use? You're going to want some safety gear, sandpaper. Those are the things that you're going to want as you go through this to begin with. And of course, you're going to want a chuck.
That's a good segue. Let's talk about chucks. What are the different types?
So you have different chucks. So I particularly enjoy the Easy Wood Tools chuck. It's a quick adapting. It's it has points in it that you can push, and you can change out the different sizes of I like those. That's been my favorite. I was introduced to that after there was an accident with my chuck. But then there's ones that you actually have to bolt on to take the different sizes off, and I'm not particularly fond of those. It takes a lot longer time. Like the Nova chuck, stuff like that. Shut up, JP. So there's different ways of doing it, but I do like the Easy Wood Tools chuck. It's a little bit more expensive, but the quick change makes a huge difference. It really does.
I would say that is hands down, if you're doing turning, the best chuck on the market, just for the ease of changing out the ears, like Matt says. You push down with the tool they provide you, and those things, they're quick disconnect, quick connect. I mean, you can go from outside mortise to inside mortise to what are the
tendons? And then you got your good God, it's like my brain is just escaping me today.
Oh, what are they? Are they soft jaws?
Yeah. Yes.
So there's the word we were looking for, jaws. The jaws. Are quickly taken in and out, and then
interchangeable.
And the cam on the back allows you to open and close quickly. There's a cam that rotates. It's a patented deal, and they're nice. They're well worth the money that they ask for. I'm surprised they're that cheap, to be honest. But that's a way to go. I've got two different ones, and I don't even use the other one because you got to individually unscrew each jaw
with 2 screws
to take each ear off, and they have 4.
Right.
So
then they labeled in the right order to put them on there. So where the Easy Wood Tools is you just pop it in place. It works real well. I like it a lot.
So are those chucks interchangeable so that you can squeeze them around a turning to clamp down on, as well as expand out into a hollow that you create? Does that make sense?
They
understand what I'm asking?
They have inserts
tapered. They're tapered on the outside to be able to accept if you're pushing out on an object, like if you had a mortise and something. And then if you have a tendon sticking out, it's got a jaws on it too that's tapered on the inside to be able to grab around that as well.
So with one single chuck, you can switch those jaws out. Is that the correct term? Jaws?
Jaws.
Fingers?
Yes. Yep.
Jaws?
Jaws.
Okay.
Jaws. Yeah.
So you can switch those jaws out so that you can either clamp down on something or expand out and
whichever you choose. Okay. Whichever you choose to do. Like JP, I think he more favors a inside dovetail, I guess you would say. So he expands from when he cuts his mortise, his jaws will go in and expand out. So once he's done with the bottom, it's pretty much done, and that divot stays in there. It doesn't ever go away because that's how he uses to clamp. He'll put that between centers, and he'll cut that part in, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes.
And then he'll turn around and get it with the chuck, and then put the center on the live center on the other side, flip it around.
Yep.
And then that's when he goes to town on it. And that's kind of, we've watched him so much. And I believe that's Matt. I don't know what you actually prefer doing on your bowls.
Usually I do a mortise as well. It's easier to, so the goal is, let's just go fast forward. The goal is, once you have your mortise, to be able to take it back off and you put it in your cold jaws and you put it in there, and then you turn out is you're trying to make it so that you can't tell that you had either a mortise or a tendon in it. You're having a smooth bottom of the bowl so that people can't tell how you did it. That's the goal. So, but I think that's the basics of what you need to get started in woodworking.
Now, I would have to say, though, just so you don't scare people away from this, you don't need a set of jaws or a chuck. Let's just say a chuck right away. I turn between centers for a long time.
Yeah.
And you can still accomplish a bowl without making that big expense from the get-go. It's a little harder. It's not as easy, but it can still be accomplished. Pins, the same way. I mean, really,
Pins, you don't need a chuck at all.
You don't need a chuck at all. You need a mandrel. That's where a mandrel comes. When you're doing pins, it takes a lot of different tools.
Bushings, yes.
Bushings. You got to have the center drill, or you have to have some sort of way to drill a hole that's true in a blank, right? That's straight through, because you'll cut your blanks and then you have an insert that's usually brass, and you've got to glue that insert inside of that blank, right? And if it's a 2-piece pin, you have 2 blanks with those brass inserts in there. And then you need another tool that actually is it's got a elongated shaft that goes down into that brass, and it's got a cutter up top so you can true up those edges. You trim the wood down to that brass on both sides, on all sides, right? And then you stick that onto a mandrel, and that mandrel has a mortise taper according to the lathe that you have.
Bush, and then it'll also have bushings on it depending on what size pin that you're going to do, what size pin kit that you got.
And don't forget that when you buy the pin kit, you got to buy the bushings that go with that pin kit. And what those are is tells you how far to cut down on that end. You can do anything you want in the center, but on the ends, the wood needs to match those bushings, because that is telling you the size of the actual piece of the pin that's going to push into that, so that it's a smooth transition. Correct?
That's correct.
Matt?
Yep.
So there's a lot of little things to pin turning.
Don't you when you're gluing the center piece in, don't you not want glue on the inside of that cylinder?
Correct. You do not want glue on the inside of it. And if you get a little bit on the edges, they make a cutter head that you can put in there and scrape the insides of it to get all the glue out. Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but someone made these little plugs that go in. So like you go to put that cylinder in, and like they plugged either
there
end.
It is. Barrel trimmer. Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. The barrel trimmer is what I was talking about, Steve. That actually will help clear all that junk out of there, and also trim it down to where it's flush with those brass inserts. Right?
Yep.
Cool.
And there's a lot of knickknacks again that you need.
Little knickknacks and nuances that you got to have to be able to do pins. And then each pin has a different size drill bit that you're going to have to use, barrels that you're going to have to use, different size links that you'll have to use. Each one is different.
Glad to see that they came up with a standard for pen turning.
So this is from Matt's wife. This is a hybrid blank, right? And I got these a long time ago from him. So there's brass inserts inside here. And I know the people that aren't watching this aren't going to be able to see this, right? But everything is turned down, as you can see on the edges, to match this transition, right? So and then you leave these, and it is a huge rabbit hole. You leave the pins, and then you go to bottle stoppers.
Yeah.
And that's another one that is crazy. And this beautiful one came from Jake Thompson. This is a resin one. And these got different bushings. These got different applications on how to turn these as well. Yes. So all depends. Like you take this kind of stuff in baby steps, because it can get expensive with all the knicknacks of what you need.
Yeah. Just like everything in woodworking and making.
Right. And like these inserts here, I'm gonna plug them. Niles bottle stoppers pretty much have the best ones you need and everything that you need. You know, that's where all these bottle stoppers come from. And places like that is where you find all the little nuances that you need. One-stop shop, basically. They sell you everything that you can possibly need to turn a bottle stopper or to turn.
And the good thing is once you have them, now the next time you don't need them. It's just like any other thing that you have. Once you have them, then you have everything you need. Right.
Yeah.
So
I remember going to that little tiny Wackerle store in outside of Boston, and there was a whole aisle with like pen turning, like blanks, all kinds of stuff in there, and it was just like, wow, I guess this is a thing. And I was like, I didn't know.
yeah, it's a huge
There's a whole aisle in this tiny store for this.
And then you want to take it another notch, and then you start pouring your own hybrid banks like Matt does. You know, you start mixing in resin with it, and now you need a whole other slew of things that you need to be able to do that if you don't buy the blanks ready.
So, all right. So before we get into resins, let's talk about what do you usually use for wood to turn with? Are there specific species? Is it green wood? Do I just go out in the backyard and cut a limb off a tree and start turning, or do I need to go get some kiln dried stuff, or what do people use?
So I personally dry back my wood. I have wood that's been drying in my shop now for 2-3 years now.
So it's just air dried.
Air dried. Well, sometimes I put it in chips especially if you have something wet like walnut. Walnut's a bad one. It's got to be dried slower. Sometimes you got to seal the ends of it, the end grained of it. But I'll usually cut my bowl blanks, get them rough cut. But I'll cut mine, get it centered, and then I'll just put it inside. I'll take some of the shavings that I already had that are already dry from other things that I've turned, put it inside of a box, Joey special, and then put the sawdust and wood chips inside there, and then put the bowl blank in the center of that, get it all covered up, and it'll dry slower, but it will be dry more evenly, which is what I found. So that way it doesn't crack on you. Because if it dries too fast, that's what's going to happen is it's going to crack. It's going to become oblonged. If you try to turn it too fast, if it's wet and too thin, it'll become oblonged as well. Because
when you say too fast, are you talking about the RPM speeds or too soon before it's dry?
Too soon before it's dry. So I'll sometimes I'll rough cut mine, but I'll leave it 2.5 inches thick, and then I'll put it inside the wood chips and let it dry out there some, and then once it's probably a year, then I'll put it inside on the shelf and let it finish drying. Which I have a air conditioned shop that's dehumidified, so it's constantly pulling moisture out. But if you turning wet wood or green wood, however you want to call it, is super fun. The chips come off great. Ribbons are just flying.
Big ribbons, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
One of the trees that fell in my backyard, someone's like, "Oh, go and grab a log and practice turning on that." Like green wood's so fun.
So I'm gonna ask this question.
Okay.
When you're processing a tree trunk, right? How do you cut your blank? Because I've seen people just cut them in sections and throw it on the lathe, and they say no, that's going to explode. You need to cut around, cut the diameter to the width, whatever, right? And then take that and split it in along with the grain, and then that's your blank. You turn with your grain going. I guess would be perpendicular to the lathe, to the spindle, right?
So
like
if you take a log, you have a log that's round, right? Cut it. I cut it to 1-to-1. So whatever width it is, and when I call width, subtract the
diameter.
Bark. Okay. Yeah, but I'm subtracting the bark. That's my 1-to-1. And what I'm going to do is if you look at that, if you look at the rings of a tree, okay, and that center portion is called the pith.
The pith, yeah.
You're going to cut that section out. That is going to be that's going to be the most movement that you're going to have of that because it's newer. It's gonna have more twists and turns into it. Once you cut that section out, now you have 2 bowl blanks on each side.
Okay.
Then I turn that down. I find the center of that, and I turn that round on my bandsaw. I have a circle jig that I use, and I just cut that round, and I'll put that on centers on my my lathe, and I'll just get it rough turned. Rough turned, still something to grab on the rear end of it, and that's what I start drawing. So when I go through my process of that, I'm setting all of that up bowl blank wise. Now, if I'm going to do rough bowl blanks for people, I won't even hollow them out at all. If somebody wants a bowl blank from me, I'll cut them, and then I'll just start the drying process right then. It's going to take longer because you're drying wood that you're never going to use.
So cutting it, leaving the pith in, and putting the center stabbed into each side of the pith. And turning it like that, that's a no-no, correct?
No, people do it. There's people that turn all sorts of things. To me, there is no. But if you ask the proper way that I was taught to do it, is you want to cut the pith out of it because the pith is movement. So if you're just doing natural wood blanks, you cut the pith out of it because it has a lot. And
Did we just lose him?
Gone. Look at me.
Oh,
Now you're back.
There you go. Here I am.
There you go.
thought it was.
But so cutting the pith out. Now I have plenty of things that I've turned on the lathe. You can look back into the stuff I've done where I've turned it the other way, and I've let the pith in the center of it, and I've cut it out. I've done vases that way. I've done all sorts of things. There is no wrong way. So let's just be fair there. I mean, there's people that do all sorts of things. But if you're just doing straight bowl blanks and you want to do a natural bowl blank, I've been taught that you cut the pith out. The pith is going to move it more than anything. So now
I've always wondered, because I've heard both ways, and nobody's ever, like, what's the right way?
There again, it's so, and that's why I've been taught. Now you can tell when somebody's turning wet wood because you'll just see ribbons. They'll be flying like crazy, and it's just wood, and trust me, it's fun. I don't particularly care for doing it for walnut because when it's wet, it's wet, and it slings water everywhere. But doing maple stuff like that, it's a blast. It really is. And I think that's why I like roughing them out so much. So, but then when you get a dry piece of wood and you see them turning that, you're going to see more dust. You'll see some shavings. Don't get me wrong, but you'll see more dust than you would if it was wet. Wet, you're going to see ribbons. It's going to fly. Whether you're doing traditional or you're scraping with carbides. Either way, it's going to do ribbons off from it.
So would you say that when you air dry stuff, it's that nice in between turning wet stuff, green wood, as opposed to kiln dried, really dry stuff? It's kind of that happy medium. Is that why it's preferred by you to kind of air dry stuff?
Well, one, I don't have a kiln. But I mean, I can put it in the oven. I used to do that all the time. I used to put them in the oven and crack them on purpose. And then I would do other things with it. But the reason I air dry, you think about it, your house is not 0% moisture.
No.
So as soon as you put it into it, what are you doing? You're introducing moisture, right? So I'm trying to get it down to that. That's where I'm trying to get it. About between 12 and 20%, somewhere in there is what I'm looking for. If I'm in there, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to get mine to.
So if somebody was getting into this, I guess what I know it depends on what you want to do. And it's hard to put a number by it, but what would you recommend as far as, would you recommend going with the midi, just to get your feet wet and learn the basics of turning? Again, I know we mentioned classes, I'm kind of going a little bit all over the place here, but if you're wanting to start, let me rephrase it. Would you recommend somebody going to a class first at one of the, Wackerle or Woodcraft and getting their feet wet that way, to then they can make a decision which route to go?
So me, I love YouTube University. Okay. But it doesn't, until you put that, a tool in your hand and put it on that tool rest and you start hitting there's no substitution for it. Okay. So I learned from watching people like JP and there's a whole bunch of turners out there that I was watching. And I was so interested in it. And then my daughter bought me a class, and me and her went and took a class, and it was the best thing that I could have done. I learned so much, and I had so much in my head that I wanted to do, and learn the different ways of how to set it up on centers, and then how to grab it, and then how to pull it around, and then how to hollow it out, and how you move and how you hold the tool. Nobody's ever talked about that in any of the, I've never seen anybody talk about it, how you hold your tool, that you use your body to move your tool most of the time. You're trying to keep your body, because that keeps you more steady moving across it. And nobody in that class taught me that. And it was like, this makes more sense now. And I can, and of course, never stick your fingers past the tool rest, stuff like that. But so to me, if you can go take a class, yes, go take a class, or learn from somebody that actually does it well. Bad technique, teaching bad technique isn't a good thing. So make sure you find somebody that's doing it well. But yeah, a class, I highly recommend a class just to get your feet wet. And I mean, I left that class and started buying stuff left and right.
There's a guy right there that you can learn so much from watching his videos, Matt as well. But JP, I learned a lot watching his stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, I mean, you get a lot of the things and the techniques. Now it's different once you got to do it. Because I can tell you, I learned from YouTube University. I know nothing. But it is a rush when you have something spinning pretty fast and you're fixing to jab a knife into it. I tell you what, you get I mean, you're like, oh man, I don't, So I remember the first time I did it. It was intense and not camping.
So not a dad joke. So all other tools, you think about it, you put a rotating blade to cut something. This is the only thing I know that you rotate the piece with speed to stick a tool into it to cut it. It's the exact opposite. It's backwards.
Instead of spinning blade of death, it's spinning block of wood.
Oh, and trust me, it's a block of death too. Trust me. If you're not doing it correctly.
Oh, I've seen some accidents. I've seen some accidents on the lathe.
Oh yeah. And I got horror stories. JP's got horror stories. Anybody that's ever turned for a while, you're gonna have horror stories. But if you do it safely, it's pretty safe.
So you recommend going to a class, whether it be a weekend class at your local Woodcraft or Rockler, or a woodworking school that offers turning classes or something like that. What is
makerspace?
Makerspace,
maybe.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So do you? I mean, I don't even know if this is a valid question, but do you feel as though most people start out with turning small things like pens and bottle stoppers and progress into bowls and then vessels and vases and the old slugger?
I started I cut a 2x4 long, ripped a 2x4 in half and just played with that. Is my very first thing in my shop that I did. In the class I did 3 bowls, and he told me I had to stop because I kept on using up all of his wood. But that's the first thing I turned as soon as I got home. And then I started putting bigger things on it, and I realized I like to turn bigger things, and that's what got me to go buy a bigger lathe. Well, no, my wife is what got me to go buy a bigger lathe to get off hers. But that's I found out real quick like that. That's what I liked. I liked turning bigger objects. She enjoys turning pens and handles and all this other intricate stuff. She loves turning that kind of stuff. To me, I like the big stuff. So I think it's once you get into it, it's a preference. You got to feel your preference. And so it's not easy. But turning big pieces it's a rush. It's really in everything else you do, you got to think, oh, I got to think about the math on this, and I got to think about this, and I got to make sure this is going, and I got to make sure I don't cut too much off the back of it, or everyone's going to see. When you get into turning, it's like your mind, you're
Zen state.
Yeah, your mind, you don't think about anything else. You're just enjoying what the wood's and the wood's going to tell you what to do. It really is. It's going to be more. You can't make it do what it doesn't want to do.
It's your artistic side coming out, because you get to do whatever the heck you want to do.
Yeah,
and you start now. The only thing that I will say about that is if you're doing like spindle legs, you have to duplicate that.
Yeah.
So make sure you don't, if you're just starting, those were one of the biggest reasons that I bought the lathe. The big lathe was to turn table legs at the time I was building them. And I wanted a way to turn spindles. And that was the lathe that would allow me the furthest between centers to get something big enough to turn spindle legs. And that is fun, man. It's a little scary when you have a big old chunk of 6x6 square wood on there, and you start turning that sucker, and those first taps on that tool start hitting, and you're trying to get that thing from square to round. And at the time I didn't have a bandsaw. There's ways to shave that down so it's not so square, to make it a little easier, because it wears you out. And especially when I didn't know better and I was turning with some small little chisels and not a big handle one where you get more leverage. I mean, it wears you out after a while. Your hands start hurting, your shoulders start hurting. Well, because once you're so tense up that you have a death grab on that thing, because you don't know what the hell is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And that thing starts turning, and you can hear the wind coming off of it. It's just whirling, and it's pretty wild. But
I know Scott. I know on Scott's rounds that he turns, he takes the corners off. So instead of 4 sides, he's got, would it be 8?
Yeah,
like an octagon.
Yeah. You can set up a table saw jig you can lock the piece in and cut the corners off, so that way it's like you said, from 4 to 8. Makes it a little easier.
Or if you table saw, you can flip the bed down.
Yeah.
On a bandsaw.
So
yeah, you can do it.
On a bandsaw. Yeah.
So we've talked about bottle stoppers. We've talked about pens. We've talked a little bit about bowls. Are there any special things that are needed if you're thinking about getting into vessels, like vases, like tall, thin, hollow things with small openings?
Yes. So you're gonna need and forgive me because I'm not thinking about the proper term, but it's an extension. Basically, the piece is rounded out or rounded over, comes over like a hook, but it makes it so that you can extend it's an extension basically, because it can go farther away from the tool rest. The farther away from that tool rest, the less control that you have, but it makes it so that because it's rounded like that, it has a flat spot, it gets it so that you can get it in there to those tight spots. I will say that's the only time that I've really hurt myself is hollowing out a vase. And it was actually jack-o'-lanterns that I was hollowing out. And like I told you, the most control you have is next to your body. And I had it as far up in there as it would go. And I had the tool rest all up in there, and I had it in there, and I had my hand out here. And it was hickory, and I caught a knot. And it came out and just caught me right across the forehead. And Yeah. That's the only time I think I've ever been hurt on the lathe. But if you follow the ABCs of what you're supposed to do, you won't do that. So, but you know, lackadaisical on it sometimes, just thinking about it. But hollowing out is it is scary. You don't want to sit there and take big gouges out of it. You don't, because it'll twist the piece, because you don't have now you don't have tailstock holding. The only thing that's holding that is that mortise that you have in there. And so you have to take small bites. You have to take, you're not going in to gouge it. You're being careful, very, very careful, and realizing what it is that you're doing. And usually, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, and they have different curvatures on hollow chisels.
Correct.
That they've got it's basically like a rounded neck. And
like a gooseneck chisel.
Yes. Pretty
much. Yeah. And there's so many different things out there on the market. What's the company? They have like lasers and stuff that you could put in there that kind of show you.
Yeah. So like for doing hollowing and stuff like that, for basically it's a laser. It's a laser that points down to tell you where your blade is at all times. And so it's got two pieces that's going through it. So your cutter head is on the front of it, and then your laser is up top pointing down, so you can see, because once you get in there, I mean, unless you're got your head down inside of it, you can't see what you're doing. You're doing it all by feel. And so that laser gives you where you can see that edge of the bowl, or the hollow form that you're doing, the vase that you're doing, whatever it is. And then it's got a double rest on it. But it's called, a hollowing system. But basically it's much longer and has much more control with it's got 2 points of contact, so that way you can keep it steady and flat. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, again, you got to pick at what you're going to do, because
exactly, you can go just like with woodworking. Start off with hand tools, and then you got power tools, and then you got all this stuff. And what it is that you can do the same thing with the lathe. There's different avenues that you can go, but that's why I suggest people to go take a class, find something that I Sprag Woodturning. I follow him as well. He's got a hollowing system on his that he bought and has modified. It's a great system, very, very safe. So there's different types of things that you can get into to get the result that you're looking for.
And you do get a sense of like especially if you don't have a duplicator, let's say like spindles, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you need to start having those manual calipers where when you start getting that and start cutting those different coves and whatever you call them, that you size them according to the original. And it's a challenge, but it's cool to be able to duplicate that. I mean, because they don't have to be identical, but you can get them close enough where the eye will not catch the difference on a table.
Yeah.
You know, but it's neat. It is fun.
So I know we've mentioned duplicator a few times. Can we just touch on that real quick for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about?
So a duplicator is it's kind of a rest that's on the back side of the tool. Sometimes they come up and they have
like fingers, right?
Fingers that come off, and it's at different points. So it's a transition point. So if you have a cove, am I saying that wrong? No, it's not a cove. So cove would be cove, and then you have a point on each end of it. Once you get to that, it'll stop. It'll fall through, and then you know that you've met your total limit on that, and then you don't want to go any further. Or if you have like a ball that you have on it, and you need the point for each side of it, you can set your points there. It knows the distance but based off your last piece, you can set them up, and then once you get to that point, it'll fall through, and you don't have to go any further with it. That's what a duplicator is. And then they make another duplicator that is an auto kind of thing. Basically, it follows and traces the exact pattern that you have
Almost
on
like
it.
a template.
Yeah, and it has a roughing pass, and then it'll have a smoothing pass that goes on. And some people get them close by hand, and then they put the roughing pass onto it, and then the smoothing pass goes across on it. So there's different forms of those as well.
Cool.
So Jamie here is talking about a coring system. And
Correct.
if you don't know what a coring system is, you set up a bowl blank, right? And it's got different knives that you interchange. And each one scoops out a bowl blank for you.
So basically it's cutting behind the wood or in the center of, but behind, and then gets to the center of it where you can kind of break it loose. And now you have another bowl blank that's smaller of that same wood. So you're not just wasting all the wood that's in the center of it.
So you can have a set of nesting bowls.
Yes.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
Yes.
Now it just roughs it out. Now it's up to you to bring it down to final dimension, right?
Correct.
But it conserves wood. One bowl blank can produce you, I don't know,
3 or
depending
4
on
or
how
5,
many,
depending on how big it is.
yeah, how many blades you get, because each one's a different size, right?
So yeah, and some systems, and then some systems is based off of how you set up your entry point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. Now, again, I'll hit back
Rabbit
on
holes.
it. Like Jamie said, it's a rabbit hole, man.
Yes.
You need to pick one because it'll get very, very pricey quick. Pin turning alone, it can get crazy quick, but it's fun. You can just start with the basic pins and then start getting into those more intricate ones.
It seems like it's a quick, easy win in the shop. Pens, bottle stoppers, they don't take a lot of time. You can go down into your shop and spit out, couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those in no time at all.
And even finishing, you can just do a simple CA finish with CA glue.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's multiple finishes that you can do, multiple different ways of people doing it. You can OG juice, and there's so many different ways of finishing it. There is no set way, but there is a finish, and you can see when you get done, does it look good? Is there streaks? Is there, just like you do with anything else?
Yeah.
So
before we get too deep into the finishing, let's switch gears a little bit to the actual tools. And before we get into the carbide versus regular, let's start easy. I've heard 2 things. I've heard basically, depending on what you're turning, the smaller the item, the shorter the tool. So if I'm turning pens, I have a rather, short ball gouge or parting tool or whatever. And as I increase and I go with larger things like bowls or vessels, and I get further away, you want longer tools so that you can stabilize them against your your rib cage and get that leverage that Joey was talking about earlier, so you don't get that fatigue or in danger. So briefly, let's talk about what the basic tools are. A round over, a parting tool, a pairing tool. What are they, and what order do you use them in, or why would you use them?
So to me, if you're going, so let's just start with traditional. Let's just start there. And they're going to be the same names, whether it's traditional or carbides. You're going to have more of a roughing gouge. And then you're going to have a more of a, what I call a bowl gouge. Always. And it has a different grind on it. And then you're going to have, parting tools, detailers. There's going to be smaller things you can buy them in sets, and it'll have different tools into it, and each one of them has a different function, just like a hand tool does. Each one of them does something different. But some of them are interchangeable. And then you got scrapers. So scrapers are going to be more like carbides, but they're a traditional tool that acts more like a carbide. So to me, the things what I got started with, and my number one thing where I've already been through 3 of them, is my bowl gouge. I use my bowl gouge in 99% of the applications that I use for wood. So I use a lot of carbide as well. So
you have spindle gouges that are a little narrower.
Yeah, they're very, very narrow. Yes.
And that's more probably what you want to use for pins, in my opinion. That's just for me messing with it. I mean, there's, like Matt was saying, a set usually gets you a little bit of everything. But within that set, though, now you need to be able to sharpen that set.
Yes. So that's where it comes into what type of sharpening are you going to do? Are you going to keep what they have on the tool? There's people that believe you got to have a 40-40 grind. There's people that believe that there's different types of angles that you need to put on the tool. And it, to me, it's based off from how you hold your tool. If you hold your tool high, if you hold your tool low, however you're holding it based off what's comfortable to you is basically what you're going to change your degree of angle to. That's just my thought process on it. I'm not saying it's set in stone, but I use a 40-40 grind on mine, which means it's got a 40-degree bevel and a 40-degree cut in the front of it. So that's what I use. But again, like I said, I also use carbides just as much as I use my traditional tools.
So I'll ask this before we get into those carbides.
Yes.
What do you use to sharpen? What do you need? The basics. Do you need a high-speed bench grinder, a low speed? And then you need some sort of jig, because you don't want to do this by hand like I did and mess them all up.
So you can do them by hand. Okay. There are people doing by hand all the time. I am not talented enough to do them by hand. I'm going to tell you straight up. Okay. But there is a guide that's on the front of your low speed grinder. It bevels back and you put it at the angle in which you're trying to get to. And the best way to do that is to put your tool, while it's not turning, put your tool up to it, adjust your angle of what you're looking for against your wheel. I use an 8-inch, and I use CBN wheels. But put it up to it, match the angle that you have on it, and then you would turn it on while it's spinning, obviously, while the low speed grinder is spinning, and then you would turn it on it. Okay. I am not a fan. And then you would also have to not only turn it, but you would have to change your angle, because you're going to get your degree of your wings on that tool is what you got to cut it to. I use the Grizzly 2. I think the Wolverine 2 is the jig that I use. And basically I slide my tool into it. I put it into the jig, slide it up to the wheel. It matches it. I lock it down, turn the wheel on, slide it back in, and I turn it. It just slides with it and cuts the wings, cuts everything, all at that same angle.
So when you, just for the audio listeners,
okay,
when you say that, you're rotating the tool clockwise and counterclockwise, as well as taking the handle end of the tool and moving that in an arc left and right while turning it, so that you're getting the complete surface of that radius on that, let's say, bowl gouge, to be even.
Correct.
So you're doing two motions. You're rotating clockwise and counterclockwise, as well as kicking the far end of the handle closest to your body to the left and to the right.
Yeah, to match those angles, whatever you're going to. Yes. And so you can do that by hand. Okay. Or
you can use a jig.
You can use a jig, and the jig works really easy. So,
and they're really not expensive, to be honest. I mean, they're very cost effective to get one, because there's hundreds of them out there.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, I went through a couple different ideas of what I was going to use, and then there's some people say that they don't use a grinder, they use a belt sander. It's I forget, there's a name for it, but a certain one just for sharpening.
Yeah,
and
Excalibur, I think, or something, isn't it?
I
Excalibur.
can't remember. I liked the CBN wheels, so I stuck with mine. But I do know there is a way to do it there. It's got the angle already cut into it. It's got a jigs that you can put on it, whole 9 yards. So there's multiple different ways, and people have different ideas of how the blade needs to be put on it, and there's always a debate on that of who's right, who's wrong, and I think it's whatever you like, that's what it needs to be. I don't care. So
all right, so I'll ask the question now.
Sorby, that was the name of it. Sorry.
So Sorby tools.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll ask the question. Why would I want to use a regular traditional tool as opposed to a carbide tool? Is it strictly because of sharpening? Or are there other reasons why I might choose a carbide tool over a traditional steel tool?
In my opinion, okay, I think carbides are the easy way to start. You don't have sharpening, you don't have anything. You have a straight projectile, so it's straight. You're going horizontal with your tool, and you're putting that at your center height, and you're cutting. Okay, and everyone calls it scraping. I'm telling you now, it's cuts, because I've seen different people do different things with it. There's different blades that you can buy. So I know that the Easy Wood Tool blades have I think JB can correct me, I think it's 30-degree bevel on it, cut already, which makes it so when you're flat, you're still at 30 degrees. I never had those coming up. I didn't know about them until later on. I thought I was cutting with everybody, same thing as everybody else, but theirs was just cutting out better stuff than mine. So I always cocked mine back just a little bit, just angled it back a little bit, and I get the same thing. Probably not as good. The Easy Wood Tools seem to be. I've tried a couple of them here recently, and they're pretty nice. But you can get started really easy with carbides. Okay. If I was, and I'm trying to say this politically correct, I guess, but I think carbides do a great job. They really do. But when it comes down to a finish on something, I think that cutting the wood with the blade instead of scraping it with a carbide gets a better cut. That's my opinion. I know JP's going to have a different opinion on that. But I think it's just for a finish, for cutting out the inside of my bowl. I'm going to use my bowl gouge 99% of the time. So I think that it's cutting instead of scraping. That's the difference.
So if I heard you correctly, when you use carbide tools, your tool is more at a horizontal.
Yes. On
the center line. So your tool rest is set at the center line of the object you're turning. And your tool is a horizontal parallel with the floor.
Yes.
And if you're using a more traditional steel tool, your
tool rest
at that same. Okay, so the tool rest drops below the center line, and the
up angle
cutting. Yeah. Okay, you're cutting up at like a 45-degree angle, or
no. It's a
like
slight. It's a slight angle. It's a slight angle. It's probably
it's like
15.
15.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
That's. I mean, whatever's comfortable to me, and then you got to think if you're at 15 and then your bevel's at 40, that's kind of what you're looking at. Because you got that bevel on the back side or the front side of the tool. So
interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, and to me, it's cutting that. It's cutting, and if you look up all the definitions of it, it's going to say that traditional tools cut for the most part because they do have scrapers. Okay. Traditional tools cut where carbides are scrapers. I still say especially if you've angled your tool up just a little bit, they are cutting a little bit. I just don't think they do as, to me, the finish look that I get when I do a traditional tool, to me it looks better.
So with a traditional scraper, would you set that up the same way? You would set your tool rest on the center line and hold that horizontal, or would that still be at a slight upward angle?
That's one. Yeah, that's one I can't. I've never gotten into it yet. I have one, never used it. I've seen a lot of videos. I would want to go take a class on it before I start, because it looks a little different than Carbide. It just looks different, and it cuts different, and the blade, to me, it looks like they've angled it up just a little bit, but I'm not sure. I don't know for sure on that, and I don't want to overspeak. But I would like to go take a class on it. So,
all right.
Before.
So, what else do folks need besides determining the size of what they want to make, the size of the lathe, and the regular steel or traditional tools versus Carbide? Is there anything else that they need?
To me, no. I think you could jump into it and you can start. You got to get your feet wet. You know, you don't know. You can take all the classes on swimming, but if you don't get in the pool, you're not going to know. And so you got to get your feet wet. So,
So there's one thing that I will suggest. If you're kind of timid and scared, they do make it's a center that goes into your spindle, because what's going to scare people is a catch. If you get a catch, we hadn't mentioned this. If you get a catch on a piece of wood, that's what tends to either pull the tool out of your hand and fling it across the shop, whatever. There is it's kind of a live center that goes on the drive side that will actually stop the wood. It's kind of like a
clutch?
Let's think, yeah, in that sense, right? Kind of like anti-kickback feet or something on a table saw. So that way you can learn and it doesn't scare you, because a kickback can scare the hell out of you, where you turn that thing off and or not a kickback, a catch, where you just walk away and be like, okay, I'm done. Because if you get a good enough, if you get a good enough catch, it's gonna fling that tool. If you're not prepared, it's gonna fling that tool out of your hand.
What's worse is when it flings the blank.
Yes, or both.
JP did one live where it flinged it out the thing.
This bowl right here was my first bowl I ever turned, not knowing any better. Oak. You see that knot hole? It wasn't very predominant when I was turning this down, and my tool got caught when that gave way, when it finally showed its ugly face, and it flung it. I thought it tore my hand off. It bent my fingers back, flung the tool across the shop. It took me a while to find it because I don't know where it went. It just hit off the rafters and just went. But that stuff wasn't out on the market at that time. And if it was, I was self-taught.
Yeah.
But when I seen that thing, I forgot what it's called, but you can just probably Google that. And that thing is it's a center that goes into your spindle side. And it'll allow you what happens when you get a catch, it basically stops the wood. It doesn't let the lathe is a powerful thing. It won't keep turning and it'll just stop. The lathe's turning, but that thing has like a mechanism in there that will keep that from happening. You know, that it's just safety stuff, because if you are doing this without going and taking a class, I mean, you need to know those kind of things, because it's just like anything that'll deter you from wanting to turn. And it's fun. It is fun. It's like, Steve, when you say you get a hand plane and you just like to shave wood, just
zen.
Yeah. That is that as well.
Yes.
Because you could just whittle down a piece of wood just to do it. And you could come up with some crazy design. I mean, it's the sky's the limit. Do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's switch gears a little bit. We've talked about a little bit of traditional wood and drying and green wood and everything. Have you ever turned anything that's like resin infused, like more like when you take like punky wood or something like that and stabilize it and then turn it? Is there anything different about that process as opposed to going full epoxy?
Okay, now that's a big question.
Mm-hmm.
Matt's
Seemed
gonna
like
have to
easy one.
No, Matt does it a lot. So when you talk about punky wood, let Matt explain how you can fix punky wood.
So
and that's a whole other process.
I do a lot of spalted maple, a lot. It's prevalent around me, and so and that's where it starts to get. It's got mineral deposits in it, but it's also starting to get a little punky. It's where water's flowed through it, right? So you have to dry the wood back, okay? And I dry mine in an oven. I keep it at about 120 to 140. I don't like to get above 140. And then which is, like 80 degrees, 60 to 80 degrees Celsius. There you go.
Yeah.
Jamie.
Otherwise it ends up purifying the wood.
Correct. And it'll end up cracking it, end up messing it up. But I want to get it dry. Then I want to cool it, but I want to keep it in a container so it doesn't absorb moisture. And then I'm going to put it in a vacuum pot that I use, it's a stabilizer, but I use cactus juice is what I use. It's a 2-part epoxy, basically, and it stays liquid until it gets warm. And once you put it in there, you want to vacuum it until it's completely saturated, and then you can hold a vacuum on it for a while until it stays saturated. It's kind of like your ex. You're going to hold them down to the bubble stop. But so once that process is done, okay, you're going to take the bowl out. I let it drip for a little bit just to get some of the juices off for the cactus juice off from it, because I use it a lot. And then I put it back in the oven, and there's a certain temperature that you got to keep it, and you have to do it as long as it took you to vacuum it is the minimum. So you put it back in the oven at the specified temperature for that resin, and hold it in there, and it'll basically, it turns almost like, to crystals. It hardens the wood so that it will hold together, and you'll see some of that on the outside of it. And so the first thing I do is either sand that off from it or put it on the lathe and turn some of that off from it. It turns a lot different than regular wood does. It has more of a powder to it. But that's basically the entire process to stabilize wood. And then you're going to either turn it or cast it in resin, because you don't want to cast regular resin into punky wood. It will split on you, crack, stuff of that nature. If you don't get everything into all the punkiness, because it's still going to be punky if you didn't use a stabilizing liquid.
Right.
And again, it's a rabbit hole. That's why when you see a wood turner, that's what they do, because there's so many different things, especially if you want to start processing your own materials, and then you get into that rabbit hole of resin or epoxy resin and incorporating hybrid blanks. And then Matt can take on that one. Yeah. If you want to know the process, you got to stabilize it. Mm-hmm. From what I've seen these guys doing, you got to stabilize it first before you add in that epoxy.
Yeah, and JP is talking about what I just turned he just turned a bowl that I had I sent him over there that was purple and green and white, I think it was, and it was stabilized spalted maple, and coated as well as resin. So you have to stabilize it, get it out, let it cool again. Don't put resin on hot wood. Don't ask me how I know, but don't ever do that. It sets up real quick. But then you cast your resin onto stabilized wood, and I do different variations of how to do it, but we try to get it to a certain temperature. I use my particular favorite to use is Alumilite Clear Slow. It's the only one that I found that I get it up to a certain temperature. I can pour it, and the colors don't blend if you get it up to that certain temperature before you start pouring it. And so they mix, but they don't blend. So you get some swirls in there. You get some different aspects. I learned a lot of that from Jake Thompson, as one of the people I watched. There's a couple people that I watched, but that was primarily the person I watched for that. And then you cast that in resin, and then you pull the blank out, and it's at that point you've already stabilized it, you've cast it in resin, and now you have a hybrid blank. So you can do that with small blanks, you can do it with big blanks, you can do it with knife scales, you can do it with pen blanks, handle blanks. There's all sorts of different ways that you can do that to customize whatever it is that you want to customize.
And if you want to learn that, we're going to shout them out. You go to Saturday Morning Cartoons with your guy right there, Jamie Page, Jake Thompson.
Yep.
And if you want to learn about that stuff, there's a lot of videos on Jake Thompson on how to do that, how to separate your resins. I mean, dude's the king on it. He's done it all, and he knows about it. And he's very, very well in depth on that part, But yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
That's a huge rabbit hole.
Huge.
And then, go ahead.
No, go ahead if you finish.
Well, then turning that. So if you get to turning, the difference between turning full resin blanks that has no wood in it is like turning, it's just a solid medium. So there's no difference in
it seems like it'd be very consistent.
Yes, it is. It's very consistent. Different epoxies turn differently. Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense, I would think.
Yeah. So I had a problem with another company, their resin, and I kept on getting chips, and it would get shards all over your. I mean, it would literally. It felt like you were, and you didn't want. It was not enjoyable at all. Alumilite Clear Slow. That is what I found that's enjoyable. It's ribbons that come off from it. It's very smooth. It's a very enjoyable process. So cutting resin by itself is one thing. I recommend, if you're going to cut resin by itself, carbides. It's a better process. You're not going to have to sharpen your tools every 5 minutes. You're not going to have to. Literally, the carbides can hold that blade. That does a great job with that. When you're turning resin and wood hybrid blanks, it's a totally different game. So
in what way?
The medium or the density of the material is different. So that piece where it joins up is going to be different.
Yeah.
It's going to be it's hard to, so when you're cutting it, everything's pretty much the same because the speed's there, everything's there. But when you go to sand it, or it's going to be softer at the wood than it would be at the resin. So you're going to get a lip there. And so there's different techniques of sanding that. And one of the major techniques is, and Jake teaches this on the show as well, is you're sanding it, and usually you turn on your lathe to sand things. Well, then you need to stop and go the opposite direction all the way around. So that way, instead of going with the turn, now you're going to stop it, and you're going to go with the direction of between the machine and the tail stock. You're gonna polish that. Basically, you're taking out the cuts that you put into it from the sandpaper, and then you're taking out those edges. Will then start to feather out a lot easier. So it's a big difference, and sometimes it's a fun time.
I mean, you're kind of going up through the grits like you typically would with anything else, right?
Yeah. So I usually go up to 400 grit with sandpaper, and then once I'm done with 400 grit, I'll end up polishing it with like a triple E, and that's not triple E as in 3 E's. It's triple E as in the city of Triple E. But we'll put a polish onto it, and then I'll wipe all that polish back off. And then then if you have a resin blank and you want to really get it to a fine polish, then you're going to start going through your wet grits. And you're going to polish through your wet grits and make sure that you clean it off every single time. You're going to take denatured alcohol. You're going to take that every single time, and you're going to wipe it completely off, because that grit that you leave behind affects, and you'll see the streaks if you left some behind. And so you really got to polish and clean that off, and then start your next grit, and then do the opposite direction with it. That way you're taking out those lines that you had just put into it from sanding it.
Yeah, you can go over to Jake, and I mean, I know you can't see this, but the process of getting something to look like this, it's like glass, and it's like things are floating in there. It's a process, but it can be accomplished.
Yes.
Like with the process that Matt's saying, and then you take it a step further, and they make polishing wheels that you put different grits on as your final polishing. It's like a 3 or 4 deal set, and it's like cloth that goes on the lathe.
Oh, yeah, your polishing sets, yeah.
And you can go through the different grits after you're done with all that other process to get this real shiny stuff that you want. And it looks like it's a mirror finish. I mean, it's beautiful. But it takes work. You know,
lots of it sometimes.
Get a whole nother rabbit hole to go down.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about finish, and I kind of asked you to hold off on that. What is your go-to finish for regular wood products? Like if you're doing a full wooden bowl, what is your go-to finish for that?
So me personally, I like to use my Triple E to polish it, and then I'll wipe that back off. Then I'll usually put an OG juice on it, which is like boiled linseed oil, denatured alcohol, and there's another one in there I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it's another 3-part additive that I add to it and mix it up, and that's what I use to wipe across it. And then usually I'll use a paste wax at the very end on wood.
So real quick,
point of clarification. Go ahead, Joey.
Real quick before we get fully into this part.
Okay.
One thing we forgot to mention, and Jamie mentioned it in there, that if you're trying to do hybrid blanks with like Aluminite Clear Slow, you do need a pressure pot. That has to go in a pressure pot.
But read the instructions on your resin to find out how you need to cure it. So different resins have different curing methods. There's some resins that can sit out in the air. There's some resins that I try to pressure pot all of my stuff, and I usually between 50 and 60 psi is what I run it at. But Aluminite Clear Slow has to have a pressure pot, but I can pour very deep pours with it.
Yes, that's where it allows you to do the deep pours. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But a pressure pot is not going to remove the bubbles, but it makes them so small that you can't see them.
Correct.
Right?
That's exactly
some people will say you need that to take the bubbles out of resin. It doesn't do that. It's pressuring them to make them so dang small that you will not notice them. It's
correct.
Not pulling them out.
Yeah. Anything over, I think it's 50 psi. And I can't remember the term, but like if you go down deep in water, bubbles are no longer seen at 50 psi. Once you get to 50 psi because of that. But yeah.
Okay, so back to the finishing. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that.
So that's what I use for natural wood. Some people like lacquer. Some people I try to keep. I eat out of my bowls. So
that was where I was going to go. I was going to ask: is what you just talked about a food safe or food safe-ish? Okay, so now I would assume that you're going to use food safe finishes on solid wood bowls. And when you start getting into hybrid bowls, those are no longer food safe. Those are not something I want to be eating out of.
Okay. So resin is considered food safe if you don't cut on it, if you don't
Yeah.
cut it out, if you don't take the chips out of it. It's no longer going to get into your mouth because there's no chemicals coming off from it. Okay. So
Mhm.
that being said, it is food safe, but I'm not going to scrape my fork against it. I'm not going to scrape a spoon against it.
Right.
Just like
Chip bowl.
yeah, just like charcuterie boards. I don't recommend people eating off those or cutting a knife on top of it because it's got resin on it, and that's not, you know. So I don't. So if I do a resin bowl, I usually coat mine in a epoxy,
Mhm.
because that way I sealed the wood, I've sealed everything, and that transition piece usually goes away. That's why I do mine.
So you're almost like flood coating the surface.
Yeah, it's so I
Kinda.
use my lathe doesn't spin slow enough. Mine, I think the slowest it spins is 60 RPMs. And so I have hooked up a rotisserie to my back of my thing. So I just turn off my lathe, and it's got a rotisserie. It hooks to the back of it. And I turn it on, and it's like at 3 or 4 RPMs. It's really, really slow. And I actually use a barbecue brush, like the rubber silicone barbecue brushes that they have for basting. And that's what I use to coat mine with. It makes it real easy. It's clean up. I can reuse them. It's super easy that way. But I try not to flood coat it. I start at one side and I work my way to the front, and that way I can capture all that. I have a resin container down below, and then I do it on the inside, start in the middle, and work my way to the ends. And so it's go ahead.
Just to reiterate, because there's
Mhm.
probably going to be people that kick back on this.
Awesome.
What we're saying is that resin is food safe as long as you don't cut on it.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, you don't want to sit there and gnaw on it and think it's going to be, oh, I can eat this. No, you
or
can't
use it
eat
on
it.
use it in a cutting board, right? No,
Correct. No, never.
because when you eat or take in the pieces of it, that is not good for you. If you take a chunk off,
exactly.
You know. But you can use it for a charcuterie board to display food. It's not going to hurt.
Display.
Don't put it in a
there's
cutting
the key word.
Display.
Right.
Display.
Yes.
Or popcorn bowl. You know, Saturday night popcorn can be consumed out of it.
Has been.
You're not gonna be, unless you got long fingernails and you're scraping the.
So,
but yeah. Okay, go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
All right. So I was just gonna try and maybe wrap this up a little bit from the standpoint of, and feel free to say you don't want to answer this question or anything, but from a very high level, let's just say someone wanted to start getting into pen turning, and then maybe bowl turning, and then, you know, larger stuff where, you know, you've got like a huge one way or something like that. Ballpark. What do you think it costs on average for someone to, say, go buy a mini lathe for pens and get some tools and get some things to make pens? Are we talking about, you know, under $1,000, under $3,000, under $10,000, you know, and just kind of go through each of those if you feel as though it's a valid question.
So let me ask you this, because that question real quick.
What's loaded?
Do you mean the buy once, cry once, like to give you one lathe to do it all? Or do you mean?
Well, he was very specific. He said a mini lathe. Tradition, you know, you can go with whatever size tools that you plan on going to, just to get into it, just to get your feet wet.
Right. I've never done this before. I've listened to this podcast. It sounds intriguing. Maybe I go for a weekend class and I'm thinking about picking up a new hobby. What should I expect that this might cost?
About $1,000. That's
about
$1,000 in the US. That's about what you're going to start with. From that point on, once you get your feet wet, and then you go, you know what, turning pens ain't for me. I'm just not into it. I want to turn something bigger, and I can turn on my mini lathe that I got up to 10 to 12 inches, whatever it is. And you start turning bowls. That's what you want to get into. Then it starts to get. It's just
like everything. I mean,
with everything else.
You can spend $5,000. You can spend $500,000. But you know, realistically, I think $1,000 entry is probably within a lot of people's ability to start a brand new hobby.
Exactly.
I think that's reasonable for most people. And again, you can get stuff within that is less expensive or more expensive depending on your current situation.
Well,
and then there's always used.
Also on a MIDI lathe, you can buy table or bed extensions, which will then allow you to go longer, right? Yeah. So MIDI lathes are a little bit versatile where you can, you can still turn yourself a bowl depending on the height of the headstock, so there's some things you can do, but I agree with the $1,000. You can easily get into it. And that's, if you want to go traditional tools, you can get you a decent set, and you can also get you a jig and a low speed. And I believe you can still come in under $1,000 with everything you need to get started turning.
Mm-hmm.
That's not including, like, if you want to buy some materials and some pin kits and stuff like that, that can be a little, but that stuff's even cheap as well, because you can buy regular old pins to learn on. What are they called?
Slims. Yep. And
start learning how to do that. And then you get into your more intricate stuff, if that's what you want to do. A mandrel's like $30-$40. You need a mandrel. Yep. $30-$40 gets you a mandrel.
Drill, which you should already have. You need and I recommend something to hold your piece. I've seen people try to hold it by hand and stuff like that, but you want to center it and have a good straight drill for that thing. There's the Wackerle mobile drilling station. There's drill presses. There's all sorts of different things, and then you can hold your piece to be able to drill those things out. And then your mandrel, your bushings, and your pen kit. And like I said, if you're just getting into it, start out with some carbide tools, and you're off and running.
You don't have to buy any of that other stuff.
Nope.
Just tool.
Mm-hmm.
And you can rotate that carbide as it gets dull. And carbides are pretty reasonable, where it doesn't cost you a whole lot.
Yep.
To get those different ones. You could pick up a set of Easy Wood tools, small pin turning deals for very reasonable. The whole kit.
Yeah.
It brings everything in it. Everything in it. They're nice. So yeah. I mean, and then, it's like anything. Pick what you want to do and go down that for a little bit before you start veering off into other stuff. Because if you're going to do bowls, then do bowls and learn how to do bowls. If you're going to do pins, because pins will get pricey after a while, because then you want to start getting into all these other little things, and then all these other little...
Where pins get pricey is that you have somebody that likes to turn them and then give them away. That's where they get pricey. Not that I know this, but I have somebody that loves turning pins. Not necessarily loves selling them.
The humidor, show them the humidor. Even the people that aren't going to be able to see it, that are listening to the audio portion. But...
So this one is solid wood, and that's sapele, which is African mahogany. Okay. And then this is what I do is spalted maple.
I love that.
For the audio listeners, Matt is holding up a cylindrical 2-piece cigar humidor that splits and fits one cigar inside that humidor.
Yes. My wife turned both of these.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Brandy is very talented.
Yes.
She does a lot of different pin turning, and you wouldn't know that. None of it's ever, like, we don't ever get to visually see it or like out on social media, but she turns a lot of damn pins.
Yes.
We just see what Matt chooses to show us.
Oh, I mean, there's inside my drawers here. She's like, "Do you think people would like these?" And it's like
a bunch of pen kits.
Oh my! Yeah. These are already been turned. Already been turned pins by my wife. That well, maybe people won't like them. Maybe I'll just give them away.
She also makes the seam rippers. The seam rippers for sewing.
Yeah.
Magnifying
glasses.
It sounds like an Etsy store is in your future, Matt.
Oh no,
He
no,
has
no,
it.
I have it. They're on. There's some of them on there.
I think
but
she even does the envelope opener too, right? I
she
think
does
I have
envelope opener. She
I think I have
does.
one of those.
She does like a pencil envelope
Pen
opener,
pencils.
magnifying glass kit, and she'll do all of them all at the same time. Yeah, she does a really good job at them.
Why do you think Matt's always making resin blanks? Because it's got to try them out.
There's one
try
that
them out.
I did that's for doing color for,
Ooh.
but it's hollow, so she didn't like it. So you'd see something. So she's gonna turn it into a handle
Ooh.
blank.
Cool.
And that's the cool thing. Like that, you could then go in, and when you get good enough, like you could start customizing like your hand tool chisels, because you can make different handles.
Yep.
You want to do hybrid or something, you can turn that down. You can make you special drawer pulls for your shop if you're into that. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you can do with the lathe. You know, not only, you know, it's cool. It's fun.
What's Niles? Who owns that? I can't think of his name. Him and her. Robin.
Robin and oh my God, if you wouldn't ask, I would have known. Carl Jacobson.
Yeah, that's another amazing turner, and
Yeah.
he does such unique things. It's amazing, and I love his lathe. I love his lathe too. So
good people, Carl and Robin. I mean, you could go watch his. He's a huge. I mean, he very talented man, and does he shows you how to. I mean, anything you want to learn, like all the little different wood turning type things you want to do. And he is the fastest man alive to change out chuck jaws on an easy wood tool. Chuck, I don't care what Jamie says. Jamie's over there going to claim that he's the number one. But
yeah,
he's not. Carl beat him by a long shot.
Brandy actually learned how to do encaptured rings. I think they're called encaptured rings by watching him, which is basically you turn, and then inside the tool piece itself, there's rings that can't come off from it that are free floating.
So that actually brings up a question which I meant to ask earlier, of unusual turnings. Have you ever done any multi-access turnings? I don't know if that's the right term.
So basically,
where you
turn one way, and then you have to turn it another way.
Slightly angle the piece, and now it's turning in a different
axis. Off centers is what it is.
Off centers, okay.
Yeah. I have not, because that just looks woo. But what I have done is I've turned or took a piece and cut it into fours and held it together and turned it for the center of it, and then unhooked it, flipped it 90 degrees, all four pieces 90 degrees, will be 180 degrees, and then glued it back together. So in other words, I've turned the inside of it, and now I've turned the outside of it. So like when you're doing ornaments and stuff like that, and you also can like leave stuff inside that, like bells or something like that. So when you turn it back, now you can see pieces of that, or you can see the bell inside of it. So you can do, tree ornaments and stuff for Christmas and stuff.
So
that's cool.
So there's a special
turning?
What's that?
What's it called? Multi-access turning? Is that what you said, or am I just making that up?
Off center.
No, that's what you said.
Off center. Okay.
Off center turning. So you change your center point, is what you're doing, is you're changing your center point. Therefore, giving it, now it's going to be what's called, is when you turn like that, it's called ghosting. So you're looking at the piece down to be able to see it, and you're only seeing it every like 5th, 5th, or 6th rotation, because it's coming around, but you're just coming across it, and it's a little.
So Carl and Robin, or Niles Bottle Stoppers, if you want the attachment that goes on your lathe, they sell that to do those type of turnings. I know, because I made all their displays on the laser for that when they go to trade shows.
Yeah.
They have all those different little things that it's an off-center jig. They sell it.
Yep.
They have all that stuff to do all that. And the cool thing is Carl will take that and he makes his own videos detailed, showing you how to use it in different applications for those different jigs that go on your lathe.
how to put
It's pretty
texture
cool
on them, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it is real cool because some of that stuff it's indexed, right? And it's got different settings according to what you're trying to accomplish. It's pretty neat, pretty awesome to watch. Yeah,
Sweet.
it's a rabbit hole,
So-
Steve. It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, yeah,
Huge.
it's all a rabbit hole. But
All of
what do you say? We're approaching 2 hours here. You want to start wrapping this up?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, we may end up being having a turning segment on the CMP college for
Okay.
our patrons and I believe that might be in the works. So if you are a patron, keep that in mind. And if you're not a patron and you want to support us, remember to go over to supportcmp.com, become a patron, and help us out. And also, again, we'd like to thank Forge 3D for sponsoring this. And I think Mustache, I think you've got some folks you want to also thank as well.
Yeah, that was a good segue.
I'm trying here.
On Steve on Steve's note, we want to give a big old thank you to all of our patrons out there. We had our monthly call with our top tier last night, and just a lot of great people out there that are helping
There
us
are,
with
really.
supporting the show. So I will call out our top tier, starting with Don from What's Next Woodworking, Victor from Whim Design, Tyler, our sponsor, from Forge 3D, Steve from Steve I Design. I don't know who that guy is.
Who's that?
And last but not least, Mike from Lido's Woodshop. So we thank our top tier along with every other tier. And once again, if you want to hop in there and join them, you can go over to supportcmp.com and tell them I sent you.
And I think there's one other thing we'd like to ask our patrons and listeners for is to head over to our Facebook group or Facebook page rather, and like and follow us over there. We'd like to try and get those numbers up a little bit more so that we can start to live stream to the Facebook platform. We don't quite have enough folks over there who are supporting us on Facebook. So if you could find it in your heart to head over there and give us a follow on Facebook, we would greatly appreciate it. And Joey, you want to add anything else for all the other platforms?
Nope, just we're on all the other platforms. We'd appreciate if y'all go and follow us. Facebook is one that we need to try to bring up, and we said that we're going to start mentioning that, and hopefully we get some folks over there to our page and do that. But please also remember, if you're not part of our Patreon group and not part of the Discord, you can always reach us at creativemakerspodcast@gmail.com. Please remember to give us a thumbs up on this video here. And if you would please, when it's over, I know I'm asking a lot. Once this goes off the air, if you can come back and leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you need something answered, or if you'd like us to talk about more about wood turning, we can do another show. You can also send us an email about that. And please still remember to go help us and download on all the audio platforms like Spotify, iTunes, et cetera, et cetera. And we want 10 stars. 10 of them. Other than that, next week we have Mr. Ed Mancini, a longtime friend. He's going to be joining us on here, and we're going to have some good conversation. Again, we all are now Onefinity CNC owners. And
that's right.
Do you have yours?
Yeah, we should. Hopefully this week, I would think it'd be in.
If you ain't got it, you ain't an owner yet.
So
he's got his tracking info, so I think technically he's got it.
So it I'm pretty stoked to get to use that and now be able to talk Onefinity with all these guys and see what it's all about. It's gonna be a little different, but it's gonna be cool. I got some cool stuff that I want to do on it. But anyhow, yeah, that and it's gonna be a good conversation with Ed. Can't wait. I hadn't seen that guy since last year. Where were we at? In
Down
Austin.
there in Atlanta.
In Austin.
Oh, Austin.
Austin. Yeah, at the Woodworking Festival. And it was good to see him. I hadn't seen him in a while, and it's always good times talking with Ed. So yeah, I guess that's about it. We appreciate everybody that hangs out with us in the chat during the live show. Thank y'all very, very much. Thank you to all our Patreon members. And I'm just gonna admit it. We forgot to do the monthly giveaway, but we're gonna do that privately here when we get off and pick a winner, and that'll be $100. Yeah. What's that?
Yeah, that means I get everything, right?
Yeah, no. We're gonna pick a winner. We'll let the winner know from our Patreon, and that's another thing. We do these giveaways strictly for our Patreon members, and we would hope that y'all would come and support us. And that is going to be $100 gift card to Forge 3D, and got some awesome stuff over there by our sponsor. I mean, he's got some cool stuff that can be used in the shop. So anyhow, I'm going to shut up, get out of here. We've been on here long enough, jabbering away, and we'll see y'all next Sunday. Bye now.
Bye.